This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avallone.
This cannot turn out well. I mean, you've heard the adage, get woke, go broke.
Yeah.
This is not going to turn out well for Sports Illustrated. I'm not judging.
Wait, Sports Illustrated went woke?
I'm not. Oh, absolutely.
Didn't they see what happened when the NBA went woke? They cover sports, for God's sake. They should know what happened to the NBA's ratings after the NBA got woke.
Well, next month, the Sports Illustrated issue, the swimsuit edition issue, will be out, and it will feature the first trans woman of color in its swimsuit issue history.
Why?
Well, take a listen to Miss Lena Bloom, and just a quick snippet.
Imagine that I will be born in a time when something like this will happen for someone with my skin tone and when someone with my background.
It's someone, because she's very surprised that this would happen to her because of her skin tone, because I think she's black and Hispanic, and I just want to
not a she.
And I want to remind folks, Tyra Banks, African American. I think she's multi-million-dollar
is
supermodel.
Asian. She's been in there. And look, Chrissy Teigen had breast augmentation surgery as well as whoever this person has obviously done. But what's the point of this?
I don't buy the swimsuit edition.
I don't either.
I mean, of course, as a kid, you come across that, and, as a teenager,
right?
And you're like, oh, wow.
As a teenage boy, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a red-blooded American.
As
well,
a
I
teenage
say
boy.
That. Oh, I'm judging all sorts of folks here. But here's the thing. I'm just saying, I'm not judging. That maybe there's folks that like to look at a dude dressed in a bikini. I mean, maybe so.
I'm not one of them.
That's not, and I'm not saying she's not, or he is not.
I'm saying she's not a she. She's a he.
Attractive or is clean cut or whatever. No, we're all children of God.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
He
and
obviously
he's abandoned the design that God gave him. He has decided to look like something that God did not intend.
Well, he says, as a woman of color, as a trans woman, I'm literally a walking vessel of everything that has been erased in this world. And so basically, he says, it's time for me to really understand that I was born into a world that I did not fit into, so I'm creating one that I do. Now, look, Sports Illustrated had a gender fluid model, the first male finalist in Sports Illustrated swimsuit history as well. And this guy, his name is Fries, Louis Fries. And he says, to be honest, I have no clue where my gender falls at the moment. But I can tell you...
At the moment?
That's what he says.
God, so we have done such a disservice to a generation of people to tell them that their gender can change on a whim. No, it can't.
He says, no longer should a man or woman feel... This gender fluid model who became the first male finalist in Sports Illustrated swimsuit history. He says no longer should a man or woman feel they should fit certain gender standards. No longer should they have to basically conform to certain stereotypes for certain sexual orientations. Well, no, you know what? You're going to have to conform to certain stereotypes, sex or stereotypical orientations. When you make babies, we've got to keep making babies in this country. That's a whole other subject.
Yeah, and we really should be encouraging.
Well, I'm not saying saying illegitimate babies, because we all know that children grow up best
in a family.
But Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret says they're no longer going to cater, and I quote, to the patriarchy.
They haven't been making clothes for men. They've been making clothes for women. Did they not know this? They haven't been catering to the patriarchy. They've been selling clothes to women.
Well, they have, but I guess objectifying women
in their catalogs,
and
in their Victoria's Secret model, the angels thing. Sure, okay. So you're trying to sell by getting maybe men to buy clothes for women.
So now they've hired, I guess, or I don't know what. hired, whatever, Megan Rapinoe?
Rapinoe. Yeah.
She's that
She's
from the United
U.S.
States
women's soccer team.
Well, anyway, they've hired her, and she's appears in their catalog wearing next to nothing.
Okay, so how does that
with
not
only a soccer ball?
But see, how does that not if
isn't that objectifying her?
Absolutely. If the Angels were catering to the patriarchy, hiring a world-class athlete to strip down to her skivvies will also cater to the patriarchy.
Right. They're objectifying her. The only difference is she happens to be a lesbian.
Guys,
does that make any sense whatsoever?
Guys could be shallow whether the women they're looking at are straight or not. Guys can be very, very shallow and objectifying. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the sexual orientation of the person you're putting in your underwear.
And so why this all matters? All of this matters is because I believe it's indoctrinating our children with many confusing identifications of sexual orientation.
They are intentionally confusing people. That's what the Sports Illustrated, by hiring the man who thinks he's a woman and has had surgery to look more like a woman, by hiring him to be in a women's swimsuit, the Sports Illustrated is intentionally trying to confuse people. They're trying to fool you. They're trying to lie to you.
But see, if an adult wants to identify as something other than what they were born with,
that's fine.
That's their choice. That's their liberty to choose. But
don't make me support your delusion.
No, this choice crosses the line when children are indoctrinated by trusted as adults, mind you, which confuses them about who and what they are.
That's right. And that's why at this time in our society, for the first time ever, there are a rash of especially middle school girls that are 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, who are all of a sudden deciding they are transsexual. They are transgender. So we have it's called delirium, but it's
dysphoria.
It's dysphoria, but there's also a social contagion. I'm sorry, that's what I was looking for. Social contagion, where a whole bunch of these middle school girls all of a sudden decide everyone in their peer group is now transgender because society is telling them that, and no adult in their lives questions it. Because if you question whether your 13-year-old is actually a boy, you are now transphobic instead of being a good parent trying to help a child through a difficult stage of life.
I think all of this wokeness is going to awaken the silent majority in this country. And I know we sound like, well, here's what we sound like.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played
songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
Man, you went back in time on that one.
And you knew who you were then. Guys were guys, and men were men. I mean, does that make sense?
It used to. It used to, but now you're a bigot if you think that.
Yeah, exactly. But why is it fair for one side to say, well, you know what? We think we're fine. And I'm not saying you're not.
Right.
But why is it offensive for folks who believe otherwise to say, you know what? We think we're fine.
What's
those
wrong?
Traditional values?
What's wrong with following the science? That's what we're told to do all the time. Just not when it comes to gender? Let's get to the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. The number of people seeking first-time unemployment rose again last week. Economists had expected the number to fall below 375,000 people, but it rose instead to over 412,000. In addition, the number of people on continuing unemployment increased to more than 3.5 million people. All of this is happening in spite of a record 9.3 million job openings, the most in American history.
Well, it's because folks got paid to sit at home. They made more money doing that. There's been talk about a 4th stimulus check, despite the fact that it's wrecked the United States economy.
There are some studies that 2 people in a household out of work can make over $100,000 a year on our current welfare system.
It's not a bad gig if you can get it.
Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, Louisiana will become the first state in the country with a Democrat governor to drop the extra $300 federal unemployment benefits. Governor John Bel Edwards has been pressured by Republicans and business groups to drop the extra stipend because it's hurting businesses in the state, but said he wanted to study the issue first. Louisiana is now the 26th sixth state in the union to drop those extra benefits.
What, he did this 30 days before it actually ran out?
Yeah.
Oh, this is
1st of
laughable.
August.
This is completely laughable. And they say that it's because Republicans pressured him. He just gave up 30 days. Some states gave up 6 months.
So a third thing you need to know before tomorrow, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is crowdsourcing the border wall. The governor announced that he would be allocating $250 million in spending on the wall from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice's budget. But he also set up an account that private citizens can donate to online in order to speed the development of the wall. While the government says Texas is going to finish what President Trump started, it's likely he will face legal challenges from the Biden administration to stop it.
You know, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, she declared a public health emergency as racism in Chicago. She's diverting $10 million of CARES Act funding.
Wait, racism? Like telling white reporters you won't talk to them because they're white? That kind of racism?
But the Texas governor is addressing a real public health emergency, and that's what's going on our southern border.
We're